The ASICS Megablast at 150 miles. It's not every day that a shoe lives up to the hype and actually exceeds it. This may be the quickest long-term review that I've done of any shoe on this channel because I've enjoyed this shoe so much. My initial impressions review of the shoe, which goes over all the data and where I think this shoe fits in the ASICS lineup and all of that, link in the description if you want to get all that information, was just about over a month ago now. And in that time, I have put a ton of time into this shoe, partly because I wanted to test it and partly because I just really enjoyed this shoe. Now, I've been really rough on this shoe. I've been trying to break this shoe. I've been trying to find a fault in this shoe, and I just can't. I have done slow running, fast running. I have done workouts. I have done fartleks. I have done pretty much every type of pace in this shoe that you can think of, and it does it really well. I have run this shoe on the hottest of days when the pavement's probably been over 50 degrees Celsius, which is over 120 degrees Fahrenheit. You know, hot pavement in direct sun, which generally will make any shoe feel kind of squishy. Not this one. It felt very consistent, felt very good. I have run this shoe in monsoon style rain where there's standing water everywhere, and I've had excellent grip and absolutely no problems. And just every day in, day out running, and I've done a lot of back-to-back days in this shoe to really find if the foam packs out over multiple days of running, which it doesn't. And again, very consistent, very lively. This shoe feels really good. I have done short runs, you know, a 5K shuffle in this run, to long runs pushing 17, 18K, which is about 11 miles, which isn't the longest run, but I'm in a half marathon training build right now and it's early, so that's about as long as I'm doing right now, especially coming off a summer of very low mileage. And this shoe feels as consistent at the first K as it does at the 16th, 17th, 18th K. The foam is the same resilience, the foam is the same performance, and the shoe feels just as good. I cannot find a fault in this shoe as far as performance. From a durability standpoint, this shoe has been absolutely outstanding. I did a short at 100 miles where I talked about the outsole and how there's really no wear on this outsole other than the discoloration that you can see in the exposed foam. And now at 150 miles, actually 160 miles, it might actually be a little bit more by the time you see this video, there's still no wear. This is my right shoe, the one that I'm a little rougher on, and I'm just starting to see a little bit of the smoothing of the tread pattern right here in here, which is a typical place where I'll see wear, but that's taken 160 miles, maybe a little bit more to actually get that, and it's just the most subtle minor smoothing that I'm getting. There's nothing in here. The tread is not worn here where I toe off, and I'm very aggressive toeing off on the shoe, and everywhere else in the outsole, it's been really great. The foam is in near pristine condition other than the discoloration that you can see, and I've really tried to punish this foam. I have a section of road that I call the cheese grater because it's about a 400-meter section of just gnarled concrete. It was a road, it turned into a path, it actually goes to a Buddhist temple. It's all torn up. There was a section of it where I think just a bunch of people poured some concrete and then some dogs and other animals walked all over it. So it's just a mess. There's footprints all over it. There's some broken up sections that have actual steel rebar popping up that are really sharp. And part of it is on a hill, a very steep hill. So this is a section of road that I go bring shoes that I really want to torture and really want to see how the outsole holds up. And I've run at least 10K going back and forth on this section of road over many runs in this shoe, and nothing. This shoe has held up extremely well. So from an outsole durability standpoint, absolutely no problems. This is one of the best wearing, most durable outsoles that I've seen on not just an ASICS shoe, but really any shoe in some time. But a lot of people were asking, how is the foam holding up? Because ASICS foams have been, they've not had the best track record as far as consistency over longer time. Now, at 150, 160 plus miles, actually in this shoe, I'm going to say that the foam has been remarkably consistent. It has changed a little bit, but it's changed for the better since I first got this shoe. And I think most of that is the break-in of the shoe. Around 30, 40K, which is about 18 to 25 miles or so, this shoe loosened up. It broke into me. And I talked about this in my initial impressions review. And what I mean by that is this shoe loosened up, softened up a little bit. All the glue and all the stitching and everything in a new shoe just takes a little time to soften up and feel natural. But the biggest thing for break-in on a shoe for me is the insole actually molds to the bottom of your foot. So now the shoe actually fits your foot very naturally. It feels like it's part of your foot as opposed to something that's on your foot. And once this shoe did that, I've felt no change. The consistency in the foam from the first, 10, 20K I did in this shoe to, the last 250, 260K, which is about the 150, 160 mile mark, really no difference. And once this shoe broke in, it just felt more natural, felt more fluid, just felt better. On longer runs, when I start the run out at, kilometer 1 or 2 versus kilometer 16, 17 plus, the foam is just as consistent. I'm not finding any differences in the foam. My feet feel great and no issues. There is some creasing on the medial sidewall. You can see some of the creasing here. But on the lateral sidewall, I'm not getting a lot of creasing. And someone did ask me about this paint that's on the actual midsole. Is it chipping anywhere? No, there's no cosmetic problems with the paint on the midsole of the shoe. This shoe is remarkably durable and remarkably consistent from an outsole wear standpoint, but also a foam standpoint. Going over the upper on this shoe, as you can see, this shoe looks basically brand new. And again, I've run this shoe in wet, dry, I've run this on trail, I've run this through mud. This shoe has been through it all, and this upper has been really, really durable. Now, this isn't the widest shoe, but I think if you have a normal foot or a narrow foot, this is going to be a great fit. For me, this is a near perfect fit. I don't think there's been a better fitting shoe in 2025 for me than this shoe. This is exactly what I want in a trainer like this that I would still consider a performance trainer, but this is a trainer that can kind of do any pace. It is wrapping around the foot. It's got enough volume, but it's still a snug fit. It's got great lockdown in the eyelet chain. There's enough volume in the toe box. I'm not getting any sort of toe or toenail issues in this shoe from early in a run to later in the run to back-to-back runs during a week. Absolutely no issues. One issue I did run into very early on was this pull tab here that's on the Achilles flare. Because I wear low-profile socks, it was sort of giving me a little bit of a abrasion on my Achilles. But again, after the shoe broke in, after that initial 30, 40K break-in period, it never happened again. I never again had a problem with this pull tab over here for the other 200 plus K that I've done on the shoes since then. So overall, very, very consistent. The one criticism of this upper is that it is narrow and it is a no stretch upper, which for me, again, gives me a perfect fit. I cannot say how much I like the fit of this shoe. But again, people with wide feet, this is not a wide shoe, but it's also not going to give at all. It's not going to be like a Super Blast where it's going to stretch and accommodate your foot. This upper material, which is an older race upper material for ASICS, is not going to give at all. It's a no stretch upper. And again, that's what I think gives me the lockdown that I want and the performance I want in this shoe. So I think that's probably the one drawback of this shoe is wide-footed people still aren't going to get on with this. And I would not expect a wide version of this shoe anytime soon. But otherwise, if you have a normal foot, totally fine. I think it's great. Also, the last thing, true to size in this one for me was the right move. Because I have such good lockdown, I've never had any shifting of my foot in here. I have about a pinky's width between the tip of my big toe and the front of the shoe, which is a little less than I think some people want, but that's what I like. And again, because I have such good lockdown in the shoe, I'm not getting any shifting. So true to size was exactly the right size for me in this shoe. And it's giving me no problems on short runs or long runs or anything else in between, including workouts and strides. Let's look at my Legsavingsness scale. Now, this is something I talked about in a video. I'll put a link in the description about what I mean by Legsavingsness, but I think it's pretty self-explanatory. It's about how well the foam of the shoe actually saves your legs. Now, traditionally for me, ASICS foams have not been very high on this. They've been actually pretty brutal. So if I put all of the ASICS foams of recent on here, this is where we're getting. The ones with the outline on them are training foams, and ones that are, just the white circle, those are their race foams. FF Turbo, FF Turbo Plus are faster foams for me, but they're very brutal on my legs. If I did a hard workout in FF Turbo years ago, I could barely walk the next day because they beat my legs up so much. FF Turbo Plus was better, but still not that great. But you can see FF Turbo Squared and the new FF Leap, they're exceptional. The Legsavingsness of FF Turbo Squared, the foam that's in the Megablast, has been excellent for me. FF Leap is better, but again, I would expect that from their premier super foam. So ASICS foams have definitely come a long way, especially the FF Turbo family, and it's really great to see. Another thing that I think is really interesting about this shoe is how ASICS marketing, especially ASICS Japan, has been talking about this shoe. Everything that they talk about with this shoe is about bounce. And I actually found this image from their Instagram recently very interesting. You look at the levels of bounce from basic to high. Look at what is on top and look at what is in the middle, the Super Blast 2. I would actually fully agree with this image, and it's interesting this is coming from ASICS Japan. When the original Super Blast launched a few years back, I reviewed it and I was very complimentary about how versatile that shoe was. It did feel like, especially at the time, a single shoe that you could do a lot of things in, from easy running to steady running to marathon pace running, possibly racing for some racers, but it still felt like a big shoe on foot. It still was a shoe that was a little too clunky for any type of speed work for me. I would never bring a Super Blast to the track. I probably also wouldn't bring a Super Blast onto a gravel or dirt road because I would be worried about that outsole, plus I wouldn't have enough grip. So while the Super Blast has always been a very versatile shoe, it did have its limits. This shoe, however, having the added bounce on top of a Super Blast and having that versatility really lives up to that hype. This shoe does feel, and I'm confident in saying this now at over the 150 mile mark, that this shoe is everything that they said the Super Blast was, but this shoe actually is. This shoe is that versatile shoe that you can do anything in. Speed work is something I've done in this shoe, and I'm talking paces that are under 4 minutes per kilometer, closer to 3:30 per kilometer, and absolutely no problem. It probably wouldn't be my first shoe, but it definitely wouldn't be the last that I'd pick for that type of workout. And frankly, I didn't feel like I was hindered at all by this shoe in that type of running. And I was doing 200s and 400s in this shoe just to test that out, and I was really surprised. Another thing I found this shoe did really well that I always struggled with the Super Blast to do was strides. I do strides where I'm really picking up my knees, really working on form, and I'm getting into sort of a sprint pace, but they're very short and they're really focused around form. The Super Blast always felt really blocky to me and just felt like just way too much shoe. This is one of the best stride shoes I can think because there is such a big stable forefoot in the shoe. When I'm landing in that kind of on the toe form, this really stable, it feels really planted. It's giving me a lot of confidence to really drive my knee up and push my foot down in that stride. It's been exceptionally good. So again, this shoe has the versatility that I think a lot of people were saying the Super Blast did, but this shoe actually truly has it. And I think lastly, the other fault that a lot of people are commenting on this shoe is maybe stability. Now, max cushion shoes by their nature are not going to be the most stable shoe. However, because of the FF Turbo squared foam in the shoe and a lot of the engineering of the midsole, the sidewalls, the outriggers that you see, and you can see how wide this is in the forefoot, this is as stable as you're going to get in a max cushion shoe. Yes, the Super Blast and Super Blast 2 is just a little bit more stable, mostly because the foam is less dynamic and less bouncy in that shoe. But to have a modern bouncy shoe, which is what a lot of people want in a max cushion shoe, in a shoe that is fairly stable, whether you're supinating or pronating, is really remarkable. Is this the most stable shoe you can buy in the market? No, but it's also not going to be as a max cushion shoe. But if you want a stable max cushion shoe, something that I would call stable neutral, getting into the wobbly section. And again, I did a video about stability in shoes. I'll put a link in the description to that if you want to see more about those categories. I talk about this shoe in that video. this is a great shoe. It's about as stable as you're going to get with this much foam and this much dynamic foam underfoot. And I think one of the best things about this shoe, because of the durability, because of the versatility in this shoe, is that if you paired the Megablast with a Metaspeed Tokyo series, this is a Sky, which I think is the better option to pair with this shoe, you have a wonderful two-shoe rotation. Trainer that can really do everything, including long runs, including your marathon pace work as well, and your racer, which is really great to put on for some of that threshold running and actually race in. For a few weeks in the end of September and early October, these were the only two shoes I was training in as I started my structured training build for a half marathon in December. And I was doing all of the easy runs and the long runs in this shoe, and I was doing all the threshold running in this shoe, and they worked well. I didn't feel like I needed to add a third shoe into that rotation. So there is a lot of value between these two shoes. Yes, they're expensive, and yes, the Megablast is expensive, but you're getting a lot of value in this shoe. This is a shoe that's going to take the place of a few other shoes in your rotation, and it's going to be very dependable and very durable. You put that with a good carbon-plated race shoe, and again, these two shoes work wonderfully together. Moving forward with this shoe, it's actually going into the box right now for the next couple months, through the rest of 2025, because I'm moving into my actual training rotation, which is all Nike based for my actual race in December. I'm going to make a whole video about what I'm doing for training and what rotation I'll actually be using. But I plan on coming back to this shoe in January or February of 2026 and really putting a lot of those winter base miles in on the shoe, and I'm looking forward to that. I have enjoyed every kilometer and every minute I've been in this shoe. It's been wonderfully durable, wonderfully consistent, and I cannot wait to get back into it over the winter and put even more miles in it, because at 150 miles or about 260K right now, this shoe feels like it's got at least double, maybe triple that before it even starts to change at all. Very durable shoe, and I highly recommend this, even with the price tag. Thank you for making it to the end of the video. If you want to support what I do here, check out sagasurunning.com for our merch, or click the join button below. If neither one of those options are good for you, leave a comment, leave a like, because it helps this channel continue to grow, which I always appreciate. And with that, I'll catch you in the next one.